So, this is RP-1 Kerbal Space Program, but with Kerbin. What do I mean by that? It is the stock Kerbal system with a few tweaks and resized planets. So I've twinkled a little bit with the planets. I messed around with them. I resized Kerbin to around 2% larger than Earth. I resized all the planets. I tweaked the orbits a little bit. For instance, I've made the moon 50% bigger than the moon, than the real-life moon. Also, I've made moon 10% closer than the actual moon. After that, most of the planets are basically the same. Ilu, also Kerbin no more has Minimus. Ilu stole Minimus from Kerbin in this planet thing. So how did I make it possible? I used realistic atmospheres. I went to and basically, when you tweak the properties of a planet, as long as you have Copernicus, you can tweak anything. So, we have, instead of tweaking just the atmospheric values, I've also tweaked planetary properties, such as size, radius, or gravity, even, and orbit. Now, changing orbital parent with a stock Kerbal system is not as simple because I think I had to change it from Copernicus. I went to the Copernicus base configs and I've changed them a little bit. I've changed the parent body for Minimus. Instead of typing Kerbin, it says Ilu. You can see 16,000 patches. My previous video on the interstellar amalgamation, it had 40,000, I believe. 30 or 40,000. So, this is regular Kerbin. The version is very old, it's 1.22. I've kept an older version of Kerbin because it's where mods are most stable. I have a 5-year-old career mode that I've been playing on my own. And so basically it's RP1 progression. Well, at the time, RP0. At the time, it was RP0. So, you have Kerbin, a lot of clouds, scatter working properly, you have Eve, which is mostly covered up. Also, Eve does not have Gilly. Moho. No, let's start off with the sun. Okay, let's start off with the sun. The sun is 50% bigger than our own sun in terms of radius, but half as much gravity, which means they have roughly the same mass. Same mass, but larger. What's next? Moho. Moho is alone. Closest planet to the sun still to Kerbal. It is 50% bigger than Mercury, and I believe it has triple the gravity. So technically, this is Tylo. This is Tylo level difficulty. Because high gravity, I believe this is a quarter the mass of Earth, if I recall correctly. Eve is pretty much like in stock game Eve. Although the atmosphere is much higher. I've set it to 10 atmospheres. Believe this is about 1.25 times bigger than Earth. Actually, for Earth, I believe it's somewhere closer to... No, actually, it is 1.25 times. Never mind. Escape velocity is 50% higher. Almost 50% higher. Gravity is 53% higher. Kerbin is 2% bigger than Earth. 2% more massive than Earth. And the sphere of influence is around 4% bigger. So yeah, this is Kerbin at its glory. 140 kilometers, 1 atmosphere pressure. These are the same as Earth's. Moon. The moon. Actually, I have a lot of this stuff on. There we go. So, you can have a clear view. Actually, you know the planets. All you can see is my exploration. And screw it. You can see my exploration I've done in 5 years. So, moon. It is 50% larger than the moon. Actually, not 50%. Oh yeah, it is. It is 50% larger than the moon. On Earth's moon. Same gravity. Quite higher escape velocity. Also, the sphere of influence is larger. You can see the distance is around 20% closer than Earth's moon. So it can appear rather much larger in the sky. Next up is Duna. Duna is 50% larger than Mars. Same gravity. The atmosphere is 7%. I believe it has the same thickness as in-game's Duna. In stock game Duna. Although it's much higher. 213 kilometers. Now, technically, when it comes to atmospheric height, gravity plays a huge role. Gravity and planetary radius are the biggest factors. Mostly gravity, because that determines how much the air will be squished. So that's also the correlation of pressure. Usually, if you have a higher atmosphere, you would have less gravity on the planet. As it occurs with Titan. Saturn's moon, Titan. It has a lot of atmosphere. I believe it has an atmosphere almost as massive as the Earth's, but is much higher in altitude, and in general has a bit more, or 50% higher atmospheric pressure. Ike, I believe, is similar in quotation marks, similar. It's about a third, almost a third the Earth's moon size. Gravity is 11%, so that's sort of like Pluto, or Pluto's moon Charon. I don't know how you pronounce that. I know how to pronounce Uranus, I don't know how to pronounce Charon. You can see the eclipse is pretty massive. Gilly is now its own body. It's kind of like Vesta. I wanted to make a real-life equivalent of Vesta. Or ideally would be Ceres, but Vesta is good enough. 191 kilometers in radius, 0.025 Gs. It's a pretty tiny thing. 7-hour rotation period. No atmosphere. So yeah, it's much bigger. I believe it's still the smallest body. But pretty cool. So, Jewel. Let's see it from up close. It doesn't seem buggy. So, Jewel is kind of like a puffy gas giant. What does that mean? It is around 50% larger than Jupiter. Also, that is theorized about Jupiter, that at some point when Jupiter was younger, it was much bigger, and then it shrank. Also, you can see that it has a third of Jupiter's gravity. It's kinda like Saturn, but not really. Also, I love the pink sunset. Must be so cool. If you zoom out a bit, it becomes sort of laggy. Scavenger doesn't like large distances. As for gravity, I believe it is 200. I believe it is 200 or 300 Earth masses. Next up we have Lathe. Lathe is half Earth's gravity, half of Earth's radius, and 0.8 gravities of Earth. It has a rather high atmosphere, which could be pretty paradoxical with such a high gravity, realistically speaking. But oh well. I will say that Jewel pulls a lot of it. Tylo is a large piece of the moon. It's pretty much Tylo. It evolved into Tylo. Wait. Tylo is Tylo. Large, difficult to land. Bop. Pretty similar. Paul is also much larger, inspired by Callisto. Very large moon. Quite a lot of gravity, I believe double that of real life's Callisto. Well, you will say, hold on a minute, where is Vol? Well, Vol is soon to become. So, Elu is inspired by Pluto. Tiny atmosphere. I don't think you can even see it. Anyway. Basically Pluto. There is Elu. Mimas. Pretty much very similar. The main difference is that it's about 8 times bigger. The gravity is 5% of Earth's. Pretty fun place to be. You know, 2 frozen planets. So there is Vol. Vol? Imagine a super Neptune, but without gases. So what does that mean? Imagine a planet at the size of Neptune, with gravity almost double that of Neptune's, and you can land on it. As you can see, it has around 20 Earth masses. Actually 40 Earth's masses. 3 times the radius of Earth. You can imagine that's a very fun place to land. No atmosphere, no nothing. But yeah, that's a big boy to land on. And finally, Dres, inspired by Eris. So, apparently it's on the far side. It is 100 astro units away. It is technically slightly smaller than Elu. Yeah, it is inspired from Eris. For a second I thought it was inspired by Sedna. But no, it's actually Eris inspired. It's a lonely planet on the edge of the solar system. Ah, not the sun. So, these are how I modified the planets. You may be wondering, hold on a minute. Where are you exactly? I'm here to answer that. I don't remember. Is that plane stable? I think it is. Let's take Valentina for a tour. I've added some custom parts that technically I created because at the time interstellar fuel switch was too massive. I do have a warp drive. Hold on. Let me take care of this. I don't really need surface info. A little bit on the sideline, a little bit that on the sideline. I don't need orbit info at the moment. So there. You can enjoy. So where am I exactly? Where is the launch pad? Well, let's take a look. It is in the middle of nowhere. I wanted to simulate like how it's portrayed in RSS, where you have Cape Canaveral, which is about 28 degrees. But I also wanted to try something different, so I've tried random. I typed random like locations, and somehow this ended up on a tiny island. A tiny island, literally in the middle of nowhere. It's like having a launch pad in Hawaii, but without the neighboring islands. So it is very fun. Because the nearest flight would take so long to reach the surface. Alright, I have the brakes on. So, let's take a look. 30. Think I take off? Yeah, you can. So, this is a small propeller plane that I created in my spare time. You can see clouds in the horizon. I don't know what is this kind of like line thing. But oh well. I don't think it's an eclipse or anything, right? Yeah, it's not. So, let's fly up a bit. You can see, nearest piece of land is like 10,000 kilometers away. I don't think it's actually 10,000. Don't take my word for it. The tiny, tiny, tiny little island. The clouds are a bit iffy, but I've used the Astronomer's Pack 43K cloud packs that would have a very defined clouds on the map screen. Endgame, they're kind of messy, they're kind of buggy, but oh well. I know it's not the fancy clouds of 1.12. They're not the fancy clouds of 1.12, or I don't remember the latest version. But god darn it, at least we can fly in Real Scale Kerbin, which is a lot. It is a lot. Here, I'm flying through the clouds. It's time warp a little bit more. Not plenty of fuel, yeah. But yeah, I can see I'm flying through the clouds. Whatever clouds these are. If you get too many clouds, you can technically get lost, as it would occur with Eve. But it's pretty funny. It is pretty fun. So yeah, you can imagine, at the time that I started, I did not have my computer my desktop, and I was trying to play this on my laptop. Things were fine before I added the graphical mods, because I would play it just as raw Kerbin. I mentioned no clouds, no scatter, no nothing, no graphics. And so since I got my desktop, I'm like, well, since I have the luxury, we can add that. And so that's how I decided to try out some of the clouds, and also scatter works best with stock Kerbin. Let's be honest. Scatter works the best with stock Kerbin. Okay, let's see if I still have it on the landing. Use the lights as a reference. I know my approach is awful. Don't say it. My approach is awful. If any Microsoft Flight Simulator expert is watching, not the best. Okay, there we go. Nailed it. Oh, I could actually have a rocket launch. Yeah, maybe some other time. I wanted to showcase what I've accomplished, basically. Tech tree. It is RP-1's tech tree with a little bit of, I believe, the nuclear extension from Community Tech Tree and warp drives. So that is pretty cool. Note that it's not, you cannot find the game like this. I made it basically that way. Just wanted to say it. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for watching, and tell me what more to make. Okay? Bye.